And thank you for joining us. And Gary, thank you so much for your time today.
Good to be here, Chris.
So just a few questions for you. You know, our industry is going through unprecedented changes right now. We have a massive transmission build out that we need to do. We are trying to integrate renewables into our generation portfolios. We're building up clean coal and nuclear generation. We're spending trillions of dollars. At the same time, new technologies and businesses are rapidly emerging and getting established. In your opinion, what are the major challenges, threats, and opportunities facing the power industry from these game-changing developments?
I think, Chris, that probably the most foremost issue today, in my mind, and in others, even I've heard here at the conference, is who pays. I mean, this is, you're right. I mean, the investment that will be made, and I feel like, that it will be made incrementally over time. It certainly will not occur at one fell swoop. But there's got to be, and someone I think here said it today, we've got to have a grown-up conversation about how is this all going to be funded, where's the capital going to come from, because the utilities are being put into a very, I think, a very difficult situation. They're being regulated, they're being besieged by possible legislation that say is mandating a lot of these initiatives for good reason. I mean, there's concern about the environment, reducing carbon, having the capability to bring in more renewables, but there's got to be some essential infrastructure changes made. And that is hundreds of billions of dollars, perhaps trillions in some cases, if you want to include transmission in that also. So to me, that's one of the biggest issues that's got to be addressed, is how is the end consumer is going to buy in that this is needed and understand the value proposition, from their point of view with this. And so I think that's one of the biggest issues the industry is facing today is with that now. And to me, it's more than just a utility issue. It's got to be, I want a national issue, because these are national issues and problems that we're solving. In some sense, you could probably say they're global issues. In fact, that they are, but of course, we're a major contributor to some of those issues around carbon generation and impact to the environment. So, but it's all got to come to bear somehow. I mean, I heard a gentleman talk this morning about clean coal, and the fact, that we get over 50% of our generation today, plus or minus, and then he did a nice projection out to 2020, and then that, from a global basis, that actually goes up on a global basis. But say in the national level, how are we going to reduce that, dependence upon coal? Well, it can be done. It can be clean coal can be put in place. There can be some ratcheting back of the coal fleet, but where's the offset? Is there going to be enough offset to that? And is it going to be economically viable to have some of that offset? That doesn't mean that we're going to say, okay, well, that's going to be replaced by nuclear. It's going to be replaced by renewable generation. At what cost? And so to do all of that, I think is going to take some really interesting funding propositions. And you got to also maintain, the economic viability, the financial health of the utility industry while all of this is going on. So to me, that's some of the thorniest issues around that. Now, but then you think about technology. And of course, being the technologist that I am and my company is that we believe that, frankly, the technology is there and getting there today to address and help address some of these issues. But it's going to require an investment in this technology. And some utilities are starting to move in that direction. You think about smart metering, smart grid, and there's some initial pilots, there's some full implementations that are underway now to bring and put that technology in place. Does the consumer understand what the value that's going to be to the consumer? And do they understand the eventual price tag that's got to be paid with that? And is it really paying now for longer term benefits that they've got to be understand too? I think that's another issue that we've got to really get more precise and get more involvement with the consumer to get it from their point of view to bring across what's going to be the value to me and why is this being somewhat imposed on me.
What do you think Congress, the Obama administration, and federal regulators can do to help with these tasks that face us right now?
Yeah, very good. I've heard some of it here today, and it's just kind of like it's the same theme over and over again. We've got, in the absence of a national energy policy, Are we actually putting a lot of utilities and others at undue risk because we don't know what the future is there? And certainly, you think from a financial community point of view, looking at the utility industry, and you think about some of the financial ratings of the utility industry, which are pretty much across the board down these days because of the uncertainty that's in the industry and what's going to be the future there. So I think there's got to be some coming together, at the political level that says, what is this future going to look like? And of course, it's got to be a collaborative effort, with the utilities and with the regulators, with the legislators about defining what that future needs to be out there. So it gets back to what I said earlier. And it's got to be something that's understood by the populace is why do we nationally need to get to that level out there? Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think that's an easy story to tell, but there's a story that's got to be told. And frankly, depending upon where you come down on some of the issues around the environment and carbon and renewables, is there an alternative answer? I don't know. I don't think so. I think, that we're, frankly, I think we've, kind of cast ourselves in this direction now, and it's going to be, we've got to keep moving in that direction to solve some of those issues.
Mm-hmm. In your opinion, how has the economic downturn affected the power industry and its ability to keep the lights on in an affordable manner that is socially acceptable?
Yeah. Well, obviously, the utility industry is it responds to what's happening in the economy, particularly if you think more along the lines of what's happening with industrial production and the downturn in industrial production, and it's more so, maybe even some degree to the commercial side to that. So, and the way it manifested itself in the utility industry is that all of a sudden we went from these projections about we're running out of energy, we got to build more in order to be able to meet the future growth. Mm-hmm. And that probably still is the case, but it's now slid out further in time. That now some some of the reports I look at, and I'm sure you've seen too, says that frankly right now we have an excess. We've had this downturn, and now will that recover somewhere in time? Probably so. So what has that done to the finances of the utility industry is, again, what I said earlier, is about the uncertainty from the financial community viewing from afar, not from afar, but looking at them saying, how risky is this industry now as an investment or not? And so some of that is that, okay, well, there's been a downturn. They've got more than they really need at the presently, but probably it'll recover in the future, but that's had a financial impact on them. They've had to cut back. They'll cut back on their budgets and so on too. But the economy is recovering. I think everyone is feeling good about the economy, better about the economy, and that's going to recover. And then the utility industry naturally, I think, will follow that too.
Mm-hmm. The federal government has been, in the name of economic stimulus, been spending a lot of money on smart grid efforts, R&D, energy efficiency. Do you think these investments have made a difference?
Well, for a while, they actually had a negative effect because everyone was waiting to see who was going to get the money or not, and so everyone kind of waited for a while. And so now the money is starting to flow. The projects have been selected, and so some of those are moving forward, and that's good. Because I think that is going to demonstrate, at least give some of the models about, well, does this stuff really work? Is it really going to be worth the investment? What's going to be the justification for it? Is it truly going to have a payback or not? I think that's still an open story there too about what the full payback is going to be with all of that. But I think, yes, there's got to be some, just like subsidizing solar and wind and the renewables, there's got to be some impetus built to get the industry and help the industry move in that direction. And I think very good. I think that's going to actually help. Now, I think it's got to have something a little more sustained than that. We got to still continue, to put more money into R&D, and I believe, the federal government still got to, continue to have some level of stimulus into this, into the smart grid area, the smart metering area, to help the industry get there and prove out some of the concepts and all. Now, one thing that as another part to that I think I find quite fascinating is the demonstration projects. There was a smart grid, but then there's another set of money out there that I can't remember the number, 5, 10, something like that, demonstration projects that are also being funded. One we're involved in is the Pecan Street project. And the Pecan Street project, which I'm really quite excited about, and I think a lot of other people are too, is to take it from a pure consumer point of view. But their idea is it's not about the technology. Let's understand what kind of delivery system, how can we have an improved delivery system that is going to benefit the consumer. And so they're bringing together interesting groups of people. They're bringing in academics, University of Texas. They're bringing in utilities, a number of utilities, primarily Austin Energy is focused on this. They're bringing in Environmental Defense Fund. The environmentalists are being a part of this too. And then NREL and then NIST and some of the others are going to be part of it also. And the idea is no, sir, I really understand the value proposition to the, and by the way, they're going to have a consumer board. I know of actual consumers that will be affected by this. And it's going to be a real laboratory, scientifically done with rigor, very scientific rigor, to understand how is all this going to be brought together. I think that's really something that is going to be quite inventive, and it will probably give a model to help us really understand how we can bring the consumer into all of this, rather than being pure technology play.
Right. Well, great. Well, Guerry, thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you. Enjoyed it.